2024 NFL draft is riddled with talent. From pick 1 to pick 270 whatever, NFL franchises are gifted with the opportunity to handpick the player they want. And they have a lot to pick from. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, and Michael Penix are all in this draft class, and all might potentially go in the first round. Even beyond that, a multitude of future NFL quarterbacks are entering and making themselves available to be a piece of a new franchise. Today, I'll rank them. Every single one. Well, not every single one. There are a couple of guys I left out. The most prominent name probably being Kedon Slovis. Yeah, I'm sorry to disappoint the 7.5 Kedon Slovis fans. Still though, I've created my list and we'll give you an in-depth analysis of what I think of every single quarterback. Get a raincoat and get excited. This one's gonna be a doozy.
Disappointment in the game of life.
Last place is Michael Hears. The first game of Michael Hears I watched was him against the 2022 Georgia Bulldogs defense. And for obvious reasons, the guy from Samford didn't fare well against them. Seriously though, can I really blame him? Yes, I absolutely can. The guy isn't good. He started his career at Murray State, attempting one singular pass before hopping around and finally settling in with Samford in 2022. He posted solid numbers there, totaling 36 touchdowns in 2022 and 18 in 2023. So why is he ranked dead last? I'll put it nicely when I tell you this guy struggles with a lot. Good numbers and all. Again, I think it goes without saying that Samford isn't facing tip-top competition on a weekly basis. Michael Hears sees guys constantly late. A lot of the time not seeing them at all. Situation right here is a 1st and 10. So this receiver is going to take this defender deep, and the tight end right here is going to run a quick out. Usually the read that a lot of quarterbacks would make is going to throw the quick pass, and since it's 1st and 10, it's not that bad of a decision. And usually when there's this guy playing off coverage on him, that would be the viable option. Now this isn't going to turn out to be a big play or anything like that because this guy is sitting pretty hard on the out route. But if Hears could throw this with some anticipation and throw it quickly, you could get a solid gain out of it. Not only does he not throw it, sure, it wasn't perfect or anything, but you still could have gotten maybe like a 4-yard gain, and that's not bad on a 1st and 10. But no, he doesn't throw it. Not only does he miss his flat receiver, he misses the receiver that's open over the top, and it was only like a 3-read route. Like, you read the first guy, it's not there, read the second guy, you don't like it. If you go to the third guy and at least look at it, you're going to see that he's wide open and you should throw the ball. His anticipation on balls are extremely inconsistent, and he falls into some indescribable mental anguish when his first read isn't open, usually just deciding to dump it to the sideline as quick as possible. He has a decent arm, flash some ridiculous zip on some throws along with accuracy, but his decision-making down the field is so horrific. I mean, right here, he's going to run a deep post, and for some reason, he decides to toss it into triple coverage. His pocket movement is surprisingly solid, but unfortunately his ball security is putrid, especially when running along with the fact that he's prone to being too jumpy in the pocket. His game against Mercer College didn't look too bad, but it's Mercer College. They're not exactly juggernauts.
In fact, they're quite the opposite. At Hears his absolute best. He's a guy with inconsistent accuracy, poor playmaking, and horrible decision-making. No bueno to say the least. I gave him an 8.5 throw power because, well, he launched some balls downfield. I gave him an accuracy of 5.29, containing a short accuracy of 4.9. He's consistently missed late read checkdowns, medium accuracy of 7.5, and a deep accuracy of 2.5. 8.5 zip and anticipation of 7. I gave him an IQ of 3, a mix of his poor decision-making and tendency to miss a lot of open guys. His playmaking gets a 5. He can escape well, but not only does he provide no rushing value at all, his instincts on the run are pretty average, and he fumbles a lot. Pocket presence gets a 5.5, and his speed gets a 4. He has decent potential, more than a couple of guys that are further down the list. Unfortunately, his competition was god awful, and I've certainly taxed him for that. He gets awarded a grade of 4.96.
No. Oh my goodness, Valentine! No. Whoa, no!
My word for the second worst quarterback in the draft goes to Devin Leary. He posted a respectable 25 touchdowns and 12 interceptions in his solo season as a Wildcat after he spent 4 years at North Carolina State. To me, his best attribute of his has to be his touch. Despite not having the greatest arm, he showed the ability time and time again to float absolutely beautiful passes down the field into the waiting arms of his receivers. On par with that, his accuracy and ball placement isn't half bad either, but he does have his issues. This is the formation right here. This one at the top of the screen is going to run an out route. This one at the bottom is going to run a drag route, and the guy next to him is going to run an out route to the other side. And for the defense, Sears' assignment is their running back outside of the backfield. So across the board, it looks like man, and with them rushing 5 and playing so soft, the drag route should be easy to hit, honestly. And you see him look at him for a second, but he just forces it to this guy over the top. That shows his general poor pre-snap read processing abilities. He didn't recognize the advantage the drag route had against the soft man coverage, and instead just forced it to his first read. And he does consistently have the force it to your first read problem. Sometimes it does work, but it won't really at a higher level. His second major problem is his pocket work. To put it straight up with you, he is not a playmaker. He doesn't have the instinct, enough athleticism, or the improvisation skills to do so. I gave him a 5.5 throw power and an accuracy of 7.5, consisting of 8.5 anticipation, 6 zip on the ball, a touch of 9, medium accuracy of 8, deep accuracy of 6, and a short accuracy of 8. I gave him an IQ of 4.5 due to his tendency to force the ball to read one, playmaking of 3, and pocket presence of 4, along with the speed of 4. He probably will be his downfall. Also, he's like 24. He gets a hefty score of 5.02.
Fate of the universe on the line, or the Martians have the death beam pointed at Earth. You better hit it. I want Iguodala.
I personally had the most fun watching Phil Yurkovich out of all the quarterbacks in the draft. It was straight up ridiculous, some of the bullshit he was doing on the football field on a weekly basis. His clunky mechanics paired with the complete randomness to his game made it impossible to take my eyes off the screen. He legitimately has the pocket presence and mobility, adding to his rock-solid playmaking skill. But with his horrid accuracy and below-the-belt processing ability, it blends the smoothie where you get the most ridiculous quarterback in the draft. It's almost admirable how he runs the offense with a fuck it mentality. Unfortunately, he's not close to good enough of a player for that to actually work. Even on a collegiate level, he has poor recognition of leverage and anticipation in man coverage. And even though he may move through his reads, it's not close to quick or consistent enough. I graded his throw power a 7. I gave him 1/2 of an IQ point. That may be a little harsh. I gave his accuracy a 2. His pocket presence and playmaking got awarded an 8, with his speed being given a 6.5. Now, by traditional calculations, this would give him a 4.904, which if you're a nerd, would mean he's in last place, I guess. But it's past that. Phil Yurkovich is, and I don't like using this word, but his aura is unmatched. I had to physically stop myself from putting him 1. If you're having a bad day, just pop some Yurkovich tape. His fans certainly have it worse. In all seriousness, though, I think he has a solid ceiling. His ceiling is high enough to where I could justify putting him above guys like Devin Leary and Michael Hears. Even though he's probably the least polished player in this class, he's probably worth signing over to your practice squad or something, just to see if you could develop him into a backup quarterback.
I am back! What it do, baby?
Parker McKinney is a guy I get confused on. He spent his entire 6-year collegiate career at Eastern Kentucky College. His best statistical season being in 2022, where he tallied a solid 33 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. And this long collegiate tenure does occasionally show up on tape. Right here, we see him hard count. He sees the blitzing linebackers. He knows there's a blitz coming. He calls a play. He adjusts it to the entire offense. Bam, finds his guy exactly where the blitz was. Perfectly executed play. His long tenure also gives him a good feel of the game. He orients the pocket at a decent, not elite level, pairs it with good enough athleticism, and it shapes up to a solid playmaker. Unfortunately, McKinney has a bit of a tendency to, I guess, overestimate his playmaking skills. I guess this may be one of the reasons he holds the ball a bit too long at times. The Eastern Kentucky O-line wasn't good either, and it really messed him up occasionally. There are a plethora of plays where he makes the right read or knows where to go, but there's a guy in his face, or there's a little bit of discomfort and the ball comes out wild, and it feels like he gets discomforted easily to a point where he misses easy ones. This may be due to poor arm talent too, something which he has, and potentially it is maybe his inability to throw from an unnatural angle. I gave him a throw power of 3, accuracy of 5.025, which contained a zip of 4, touch of 6.5, anticipation of 5, medium of 5.5, a deep ball of 3.5. I awarded him an IQ of 7.5. Playmaking got a 6 for me, along with his pocket presence. And finally, his speed got a 3. His IQ and solid enough pocket movement did work things out for him in a not so great situation at Eastern Kentucky, but it's not close to good enough to override his general untalentness that he has. He got awarded a 5.205.
I'm like, I'm tired of getting the taste of them. I want the whole load.
Michael Pratt is certainly one of the quarterbacks in this draft class. He spent his entire 4-year career at Tulane, and like many others, his best year was as a junior, where he tallied 37 touchdowns and 5 interceptions while leading an 11-1 rally. He's an uber talented guy, someone with a bazooka arm or blazing speed, but he's good enough. To me, his best trait is his touch and ball placement.
But aside from his touch, his accuracy is pretty solid, even though his release is clunky and slow. Pratt does have alright zip on the ball, which I guess makes his slow and awkward release a bit better.
But it's still a problem occasionally. Still though, it's not his main issue. It's worse. Pratt has a staring problem. A bad one.
It's not abnormal for college quarterbacks to occasionally stare down a long developing man route, but Pratt takes it to another level. This is another case of the defender reading his eyes. If he's going to run a post up the middle, this guy's going to run a hitch. And not only did he decide to release this a little bit late, but he's staring at it the entire time. And you see the linebacker intently looking at where he's thrown. And this is the easiest route to jump ever. And it obviously leads to an interception and pick six. No, not a pick six. He also doesn't throw this like with any touch. Like it's not even a thought that he's trying to float this over the linebacker, which really makes me question if he even saw the guy at all. I think Michael Pratt definitely has a case of tunnel vision, especially if he knows the dude is going to be open. When I say staring problem, I don't only mean he's staring down wide receivers and allowing linebackers to drop into the route. He sort of locks onto guys, particularly his first read. Lastly, he's not the greatest under duress. I'm not saying he's a horrible playmaker, but he has weird moments under pressure where he just misses. I gave him a 4.5 throw power rating, 6.35 accuracy rating with a zip of 5, 8.5 touch, medium 8, deep 4, anticipation 4.5, short 8.5. His pocket presence got a 5. Despite the jumpiness, he displays positive pocket maneuverability on occasion. The playmaking got a 5 too. He's a big part of the rushing game, even tallying 10 rushing touchdowns one year. Still, his meltdowns under pressure knocked the score down. Finally, a speed of 6, which you may think is high, but his shuttle drill score was a 4.23, which confirmed my suspected explosiveness. Even though that tallies up a score of 5.112, I'm putting him over Parker McKinney solely because of potential. Not only is Parker McKinney a super duper senior and is pushing 25, but he practically already capped out. Pratt is not there yet. I think even without developing, Pratt could outperform McKinney in the NFL. Imagine with him developing.
When emotionally, you're like, I'm going to come, and it ain't there.
Taulia is certainly an intriguing prospect with being related to Tua and all. He spent his freshman year backing up Big Bro at Alabama before starting his career at Maryland. Is he good? Does he stack up to his brother? Well, they definitely have a similar playstyle. Both Taulia and Tua are short game maestros. Taulia has a fantastic zip on the ball and great accuracy in the short to intermediate areas. He does a good job of picking through bodies when finding guys. He's a decent athlete and playmaker, has a solid processing ability, and all right pocket work. Unfortunately, he's straight up not as good as Tua. Not only are the physical attributes not there, he doesn't have a great or a good arm. Yeah, his zip is good in short areas, but not so much as you get deeper down the field. A lot of his passes lose air when he has to push the ball deeper down the field. His accuracy isn't horrible, and he definitely is aggressive, but it seems like his biggest flaw is the general lack of talent. I gave him a 3.5 throw power, 6.55 accuracy that pertained a 9 zip on the ball, 5 touch, 6.5 medium accuracy, 4 deep, 7.5 anticipation, and a 9.5 short accuracy. He's basically Tua, but worse. Tua is generally not very talented compared to regular quarterback standards, but he offsets that with ridiculous precision point accuracy and IQ. Not only does Taulia not have that, but he has less talent than his brother. He will have to fight an uphill battle to fare well. His final grade is a 5.485.
The corner for 3. Westbrook is out of his cotton picket mind.
Austin Reed will always hold a special place in my heart. He was the first quarterback I reviewed this season and the first I rated for the draft, meaning I probably have him a bit higher than a lot of people do. I'm biased like that. If there's one thing he does excel at, it's his short to intermediate passes. Similar to Taulia, except he's better. His pre-snap skills are far superior. When he's ahead of the curve, he could orchestrate exactly what he needs to do down to perfection. He's also a solid playmaker. Not anything crazy like Caleb Williams level, but several serviceable. He's comfortable in the pocket, has a good feel around it, decent athlete, and his vision on the run is superb. Now, for the negatives. He's a bad deep ball thrower. I know I've said this about a lot of players, but Reed is royally shitty at throwing the deep ball. The thing is, he's strangely aggressive about it too, like to a confusing point. He attacks deep balls nearly as frequently as Joe Milton does. At least it felt like. Joe Milton has a reason though. He literally has an incomprehensibly, disgustingly, unbelievable amount of arm strength to justify it. Not only does my guy Austin Reed not have that, he unironically might have the worst touch in the draft. Remember how I said that he has solid pre-snap abilities? Yet when things don't pan out the way he projected it, it goes to hell. So this is one of the weirdest plays that I've seen so far. They have quads. It's two receivers on each side. They're bunched up super close together. This guy at the top is going to run a post route, and this guy at the tight end is going to run a fade. What makes this play interesting is that on both sides of the field, they only have one defensive back covering them. So it seems to be a miscommunication. Austin Reed, though, what he does, it's not so good. Initially, it's good recognition. He gets the ball super quick. He then looks to the post route and fires a good ball there. On first glance, that may look like a really good play until you remember that he missed the tight end that was wide open and streaking down the field for a would-be touchdown. Now that I'm looking at it and thinking about it, I don't understand why he'd rush so much and throw it right here, because he didn't even look at any other options. He was tracking that, that play the entire time. Even if the guy is leg into his spot and you want to take advantage of that, he's running a post and he's, I guess, technically playing inside shade. So it wouldn't be really of a disadvantage. It'd be quite the opposite, in fact. And yeah, maybe it worked out this time, but I have a feeling that he didn't really have a backup plan if the very possible situation came out and he ended up covering it perfectly. I gave him a 4.5 throw power, an accuracy of 5.25 that had a zip of 6.5, touch of 1.5, anticipation of 8.5, accuracy of 6, deep of 2, and short of 9. I gave him an IQ rating of 4, playmaking got a 6.5, and pocket presence got a 7.5. Maybe he could be a high-level backup. I don't see the starting potential due to the fact that not only does he have a lot of work to do in the post-snap read area, but also the fact that he isn't perfect in the pre-snap read area. He isn't that gifted physically, and he's 24 too. I graded Reed a 5.45.
Oh, yeah. No, here's the story. Now, you stop this conversation. This bullshit logic. You stop this bullshit logic.
If this was a ranking on how gorgeous these quarterbacks are, Sam Hartman would be one, no doubt. Look at how beautiful this man is. The aura that Beard possesses should put him at 1 alone. Seriously, look at how sexy this guy is. Dare I say his ridiculous handsomeness rivals Jimmy G? Anyway, if he was as good as he is jaw-droppingly beautiful, he'd be suiting up for the Chicago Bears next season. Unfortunately for him and his bank account, things don't work that way. I think Hartman's intellectual ability is a tough thing to describe. The pre-snap ability is there, and he also flashes the ability to move through reads. Unfortunately, there are occasions where he gets tripped up post-snap, especially on heavy disguises. Okay, this is the look right here. The receiver at the top of the screen is going to run a hitch route. This receiver is going to run a fly up the seam, and this receiver on the inside is going to run this inside route. The guy on the far left side is going to run a hitch route, and the guy next to him is going to run an out route. And I think Hartman thinks it's one-on-one. He's playing off and we're running a hitch, so it should be easy money. Thing is, this hitch on the bottom side is going to be taken away because this linebacker is going to come all the way down and block any throwing motion to that area. Once he sees that, I think he kind of panics and freaks out, and he's just like shifting his eyes and looking back and forth between both sides of the field, which again is very ill-advised. He gets so panicked that he misses the streak that's open, and I'm not talking like the streak was wide open. There were 2 safeties over top, but if you see it quick enough, you could throw a dart in there, get that in there quick enough, and that could be a big gain. This kind of shows that generally his processing slows down when his first read isn't open. His anticipation is also very inconsistent. Now, he is a decent athlete and he's shown great playmaking potential. Here it's a 4th and 1, dire situation. He recognizes this guy over the top isn't open, escapes, breaks the tackle, and pummels his way through the safety to get the first down. On that play, he showed 3 great things. 1, the instincts to recognize that nothing was there passing-wise and decide to rush. 2, he showed great athleticism and speed to get to the edge and escape. 3, he showed great contact at the end there, running through that safety. He has an above average arm, so I'm awarding him a 7 throw power. His accuracy is a total of 6.175 with 8 zip, 5.5 touch, 3.75 anticipation, 7.5 medium, and 5.5 deep accuracy. His IQ got a 4.5, which may seem low, but I think his inconsistencies, pass, read, run, and his state of anguish when a disguise and coverage pops up doesn't really fare well for him. His presence and his playmaking both got a 5 5.5 from me. I was tempted to tax him for being a super duper senior since this is his 6th year in college, but he's handsome, so I'll let it slide. He has decent tools, decent physical attributes, and a decent accuracy to have the potential to be a low-end starter. I rated him a 5.585.
Oh my goodness. Jordan Clarkson almost came in my lap.
To me, John Rice Plumlee is like Swedish Fish. Something I could thoroughly enjoy, but I won't pick. This guy is fast. Really fast. He clocked a 4.42 at his pro day, and you could see the explosiveness all over his tape. To me, that's what makes watching him fairly enjoyable. He's flashed good anticipation, even though this throw is probably ill-advised. Having to fit this behind that linebacker and right directly next to him, that's some crazy ball placement right there. I can't lie. He also has some all right processing too. He's generally all right with moving read to read, even though on occasion he suffers from a staring problem. Linebackers tend to read his eyes and either bat the ball away or record an easy interception. There's other times where not only is the processing a tick behind, but also he's a bit hesitant to test his arm and opts to run instead. I mean, this may work at the next level for other guys of his archetype, but he's just straight up not good enough of a rusher. Sure, he's fast for a quarterback, but he doesn't have the tackle breaking ability or a super high level of explosiveness that these other guys have. That limits his playmaking a bit. I gave his throw power a 5, accuracy of 5.625. That included a 5.5 zip, 7.5 anticipation, 6 touch, 6 medium accuracy, 2 deep, and 8 short. I gave him an IQ of 5.5, pocket presence of 6, and playmaking of 6.5. His speed is an 8.2. He's an alright player. Needs a lot to work on, but he's fun enough that I'll be tuning in to see if he does any good in the preseason. I gave him a 5.85 rating.
I'm not sure. Is your mom still with us?
Right here, I have Jordan Travis. And for me, he's the first guy who kind of has the tools to tap into the starting range on an NFL level. He has a solid arm, albeit not out of the stratosphere, and rock solid athleticism. He spent 1 season as a backup for Louisville before going on to play the next 5 seasons at FSU, meaning he's 24 and a bit old. He also suffered from a gruesome leg injury at the end of last season, and there is definitely concern on how that would affect the aforementioned athletics traits he's supposed to possess. Still, his playmaking is top-notch. His unnatural ability to throw pretty accurate balls from all sorts of weird body angles is incredibly impressive. He's also shown flashes of solid recognition, particularly of safety play. So this is the play here. The receiver on the far left is going to run a deep post. The receiver next to him is going to run a fade route, and the tight end is going to leak out. Thing is, though, this safety is going to go on a blitz, and the safety over the top has to cover the flat as his zone. At least that's what it looks like. And as you could guess, that leaves the fade butt naked open. Now, what impressed me with Jordan Travis here was the fact that he was able to recognize the safety coming down and knowing that fade route was open so quickly. And this isn't an easy feat with pressure in your face either. I feel like if it was a guy who couldn't process that as quickly, he would have probably gotten sacked or would have been in a position where he couldn't roll the ball, or the guy would have been covered. It was almost like instantaneous. That being said, he misses open guys a lot. This is due to him being glued to his first read and not moving off for whatever reason. I ended up giving Travis a 7.5 throw power, accuracy of 5.525. That included an anticipation of 4. He struggled with it sometimes. Zip of 5.5. It wasn't anything special. Touch of 4, medium ball of 6.5, and a deep ball of 7. He was awarded with an IQ of 4.75. This attribute, I think he could improve with proper coaching. To the point of becoming a star, I don't know. Probably not. He's shown flashes, but there are some pretty big holes. Playmaking got a 7.75, and his pocket presence got a 5. I did think about taxing him for his injury, and when I calculated it, his grade went down to a 5.82. Still, even though the concern is there, I don't want to be too harsh. And even though him being at the ripe old age of 24 and him having a major lower body injury, I think the tools he has leave some room for potential. I rank him at a 6.06.
Quarterback, he makes the read, and what do you know, guys? It's an orgy in the end zone.
When I was younger and playing Madden Mobile, I'd run the same exact play over and over. Trailblaze, I think, if I can recall. Well, the play had 2 outside receivers running fly routes, the slot guy running a drag, and I think the tight end going on some sort of in-breaking route. I'd run it non-stop, and like clockwork, I'd take whatever quarterback I had and just launch it to one of the receivers, regardless if the defense was running prevent or cover 2 or whatever. That's how I feel like when I'm watching Joe Milton. He has a huge arm, obviously. I mean, we all know this. He can't help himself from showing it off. He recorded the best zip at the combine as icing on the cake. He's also a good, not great playmaker. blocker. His pocket maneuverability is a plus, combined with him having the capability of throwing from multiple arm angles. And contrary to popular belief, his accuracy isn't the worst thing to touch the planet Earth. It's not good by any means, but he isn't starting from ground zero. The real issues is when it comes to his processing. Tennessee ran a really simple offense. It didn't insist upon much from Milton intellectual-wise. I literally do not think he could move on from his first read, nor does he really make an effort to. His vision isn't really there, and he struggles with making post-snap reads. Right here is a prime example. It's going to be a bunch set at the top of the screen, the back receiver is going to run a hitch route, and the front one is going to come inside and settle in. For the defenders, it's going to be zone. This corner is going to drop back deep, with the other one going to sit in the flat. It's pretty clear that Milton doesn't see that the guy that's settled inside is open, just because his eyes are absolutely locked onto the comeback route. A quarterback who's actually good at post-snap read adjustments would have recognized, hey, this guy's sticking to the flat, so there should be a hole open right there. It wasn't even that complicated of an adjustment either. His poor processing is made worse when you take his arm into account. Not the fact that he has a big one, but it's the confidence that comes with it. I mean, he will literally throw anything down the field. But again, can I really blame him? With how strong his arm is and how weak his other attributes are, it's kind of like his calling card. I gave him a throw power of 10, accuracy of 5.5 with a short of 2, a deep accuracy of 7. It was, surprisingly good. Medium accuracy of 4.5, anticipation of 2.5, a zip of 8, touch of 5. His IQ got a 2, pocket presence got a 2.5, playmaking got a 7.5, and speed got a 4. The one-dimensional allegations may be true, but he does have really high potential due to just the sheer size of his arm. Unfortunately, he has so much work to do in terms of improving processing-wise. He's literally on ground one in that regard. If you want a comparison, he's like Anthony Richardson, but without the rushing ability, worse accuracy, worse playmaking ability, less athletic, worse processing ability. The anticipation is not as good. He's such a large project. The thing is, though, he's old. He's 24, which makes things so much worse. I have his rating at a 5.9.
Clearing out defenders faster than a teenager clears his search history on his web browser. Holy smokes.
Remember in 2021 when Spencer Rattler was supposed to be the best quarterback in the class? It wasn't like he was a crazy good player then either. People just projected him to take a giant jump and rise to be the first quarterback off the board. Well, he didn't. And the 2021 class ended up being one of the worst classes of all time for quarterbacks. As for Rattler, he stuck it out in college. And did he have his giant rise? No, unfortunately, he did not. You could definitely see why people thought he was going to blow. He has good arm strength, good mobility. You see the playmaking ability. He's flashed elite accuracy along with that. The pad comes on the processing side of things. His post-snap readability is atrocious. Right here, South Carolina is going to line up with 3 receivers on their left side. The first 2 is going to run deep posts while the guy all the way out in the bottom will run a dig. They're going to run against the zone, and in said zone, the 2 guys in front of the receivers will stick to cover the shallow parts of the field, basically leaving this one safety over the top to cover 2 post routes. Spencer makes 2 mistakes that fuck up a solid opportunity. Right here, the safety slips inside the first post route in a way to maybe get a good shot at both routes, and I think it's here, a little bit before that, where he gets enamored by the play. Sinks, yeah, it looks open, and if he wanted this, he'd have to throw it now with anticipation to fit it in, or the safety could get in range of potentially altering the pass. Not only does he not do that, he sticks on this route for the entire play, far after it becomes illegible. I think it's pretty obvious when a player is in this situation, and when they basically have to guard 2 guys, throw it to the one that he's behind, because then again, the safety will have to do work to physically catch up. Spencer doesn't do that, throws it to the second post route, and it gets intercepted. Now, I don't think the problem is that Spencer didn't know the rule. I just think he didn't see the safety. All of the problems, everything derived from Spencer not really recognizing or having any thoughts about the safety at all. He didn't think about how the safety's movements and adjustments would affect the play at all. He just saw a guy open, said fuck it, and launched it down the field. This is something you cannot do at a higher level. Despite this, he doesn't seem to have the problem of sticking to one guy consistently. When he does stick to the one guy, it just seems that it's poor recognition of his surroundings and poor vision or awareness. When he does stick to one guy, it seems to be more so of a vision problem. And while I think his playmaking is his biggest strength, it's not all there. He suffers from what I like to call playmaker syndrome, where he tends to try to escape the pocket early. Overall, the potential is there. Obviously, he's just super raw. I have his throw power at 8.5, accuracy at a 6.2, IQ at a 2.5, playmaking at 7 3/4, pocket presence at 4, and speed at 7. This will make his number lower than Jordan Travis as a 5.81, but not only am I giving Travis an injury tax, but Spencer has so much of a higher ceiling. A similar thing goes for Milton. Milton's arm really skews his total grade up a lot higher than where I think he should be, especially when you consider his age and a bunch of other things. I think if you're looking for a flyer in the 3rd or 4th round, a guy you think has decent potential, Spencer Rattler is a better option for that than Joe Milton. Because I know for a fact, Joe Milton will need so much more work. You have to do a lot of reworking for his mechanics. And while that's not completely uncommon for guys like him, the fact that he's 24 years old makes having him as an option so much worse. Not only is Spencer Rattler younger, he'll need a lot less work as an individual. And I think he's a better fit for the NFL. Again, he got a grade of 5.81 from me.
I bet you couldn't do that to them big-ass women in San Antonio. Oh.
Michael Penix seems to be projected in the Bo Nix range, one of the guys that are slightly below the big four. I don't particularly hate this projection. He has the talent, his arm is there, his accuracy, while off sometimes, has shown the possibility of being high level. His deep ball is solid, he's a good enough athlete. Generally speaking, Michael Penix has the tools and then some to be a starting level quarterback, but he has big humps he has to get over. One, his processing is late at times, especially when things go a bit off script. He also has a hard time dealing pressure, and worst of all, he cannot throw a touch at all. And yeah, he did hit a lot of deep balls, and I'm not saying that he has a bad deep ball, but having guys like Romo Dunze on your team, a guy who's that elite at the catch point, there's a lot of times on film where that has bailed him out. Those are major concerns that he will have to work through. And with him being the ripe old age of 24, it makes it a little bit harder to do so. Along with those issues, he also has a bit of a steering problem. Nothing as chronic as Michael Pratt though. He does have a tendency to force balls to his top wide receiver. I graded his throw power at 9.25. His accuracy is 7, containing a zip of 9, touch of 3, deep ball of 7, medium of 6, and short of 8. Gave him an IQ of 5.5, pocket presence of 3.5, playmaking of 6, and speed is 6.5. He ran a 4.46 40 with a 4.23 shuttle score. With Penix, everything is there. He has the size and the elite arm. There's just some big holes in his game that will have to be repaired. I don't really think I could see him being a successful day one starter, and that is tough with him being 24, and it gotta knock him down a bit. I'm not even gonna get into his injury history, but I'll have a really hard time justifying picking Michael Penix over Bo Nix, or even in the first round at all. I gave him a grade of 6.575.
If you kick every Latino out of this country, then who is going to be cleaning your toilet, Donald Trump?
Oh, that's no.
In the sense that, you know what I mean? Like,
Bo Nix is the most mind-numbingly confusing player in the draft. He put up monster numbers in his last year at Oregon. He had 45 touchdowns with 3 interceptions with a near 80% completion percentage. And it's not like he displayed no positive traits either. His accuracy is ridiculous, particularly his anticipation. And his playmaking is top 3 in the draft class too. His mobility and accuracy is on par with a lot of guys in this class. There's just one major problem. It's his processing, or I guess in a way his lack thereof processing. Oregon ran a pretty simple offense that didn't really push Nix out of his comfort zone. What do I mean? I genuinely do not know if Nix can perform past his first read. Alright, that's a stretch. Maybe, but look at what I mean. This one, it's a simple concept. The running back leaks out and the receiver runs a little hitch. Now the read is to see where this linebacker goes. If it's man, he probably has a running back out the backfield and a hitch will be open. If it's zone and he drops back into range of the hitch, the leak would be open. And Nix just doesn't look at it. He dumps it off to the running back without a sliver of consideration. And since it was the man, the linebacker was on him. If he actually read what the linebacker did and made a quick decision, he would have hit the hitch and it would have been more of a game. This is concerning because this isn't even that complex of a play. Like, I've seen Joe Milton routinely complete a read like this. On this play, they have 3 receivers. The 2 on the outside are going to run go routes, while the slot receiver is going to run an in-breaking route. The defense is going to run a heavy blitz all around. And with that, I think the dig should be the easy one to go for. And it should be common sense since the middle of the field is wide open due to the linebackers all rushing towards you. But no, Nix didn't even consider it. He sat on the guy at the top of the screen and just watched him get absolutely clamped up before heaving a prayers to the sideline. This again is a very basic read, and Nix didn't even compute it. Concerningly so, considering how even while the guy was still getting locked up, he didn't even fathom the idea of moving on to his next read.
This last one, I think, describes the entire Bo Nix experience. This guy's gonna run a crossing route and Bo Nix the entire time is just going to stare at it. Not even try to hide it or consider any other options that were somewhat open. He just deadlocks onto it. Obviously, the defenders come to undercut it, and by the time he's ready to let it rip, the receiver that he was staring at has 2 defenders smothering him. And you know what he does? He throws it anyway. Yes, he throws it into double coverage. And guess what? He completed the pass. And this wasn't like an inaccurate Hail Mary that the receiver bailed him out on. No, this was a legitimate fucking dot. His problem is similar to Austin Reed. He's actually all right pre-snap. He's flash an ability occasionally to come into plays with a plan. But if that plan is not open, he literally just stare at it waiting for something to happen. Occasionally just saying fuck it and throwing it anyway. I rated his throw power an 8. Accuracy is 6.825, containing a 7.5 zip, a touch of 8, anticipation of 9, medium of 6.5, deep of 3, and a short accuracy of 7. His IQ receives a 3.25. Even though it's not extraordinary, he did run an elite offense at Oregon, and that's worth something. Pocket presence gets a 7, playmaking an 8, lastly, a speed of 7. He ran a 4.640 and a 4.03 shuttle score. Why do I have Penix under Nix? I mean, they're both 24, and depending on who you ask, Nix's major problem is harder to solve. I think Nix's accuracy and mobility gives them the clear, distinct advantage. Yeah, they have major processing issues, but I think it'd be easier to help Nix's because you're building it up from scratch. You'd have to rework less of his mechanics like you have to do for Penix. Also, Penix has a major injury history that could follow him into the pros. Nix gets a rating of 6.58.
You know, they got KD, but we got Jaden McDaniels.
Oh yeah, we're getting spicy now. This may be a bit lower than where you'd rank Jaden, and honestly, I'd get it if you clicked off the video. But please, just hear me out when I say Jaden McDaniels is a very flawed quarterback. Far too much, and that gets him in sticky situations. He's a run first, ask questions later type of guy, where if he breaks the pocket, no matter the situation, no matter how many defenders are in front of him, he will charge at them full head of steam. And yeah, that works sometimes. His freak athleticism bails him out, but it caps his playmaking ability. Off is exceptional, particularly his deep ball. He leads his receivers proficiently and puts solid zip on the ball, but there are many, and I mean many occasions where he waits for the receiver to break open before releasing the ball. Worst of all, his processing ability is not good. I don't want to seem like I'm dumping on him too much, but I'm genuinely concerned whether he could read the field at a serviceable level. Even the time where he connects with a guy, it's by happenstance. There's a lot of times where he isn't going through his reads methodically and he's just fluttering his eyes across the field looking for someone to be open. He also suffers from another symptom of scrim. I gave him a power of 8, a 6.85 accuracy, which contained a zip of 6.5, touch of 7, deep accuracy of 9, medium of 8, short of 7, and anticipation of 4. I give his IQ a 2.75. His pocket presence is interesting. Since even though he has the athleticism and decent instincts, he's super quick to dash out. I'll give him a 3.5. I gave his playmaking a 7. As a rusher, it's a 10 easily, but he's so dead set on using his legs that he missed so many more bigger plays down the field. He forces it with his legs so many times. Finally, his speed gets a 9.5 because Each potential is through the roof. Seriously, a couple of small and really fixable changes, like keeping his eyes up when he's rolling out, would bump his score up by a lot. His rushing gravity is so massive that just doing that would bump his playmaking to a 10. And while yes, his processing isn't always there, I see legitimate potential. He's flashed on occasion decent to above average ability, but obviously not consistent enough. While his number may be a lot lower than Nix and Penix, I'll put an asterisk on it since his potential is so much greater. Still, I awarded him a grade of 6.17 with an asterisk attached.
He has one of the best footworks inside.
You have no idea how good Tim Duncan was.
I see the allure. I truly do. Now, I'm not going to speak too much on JJ McCarthy, mainly because I have a video on him that's probably going to release after this one. But it's clear the general public does not fuck with JJ. And I could see why you'd write him off at first glance. He's not visibly generationally talented like a lot of quarterbacks in these drafts, meaning he doesn't have the giant rocket arm or blazing speed. He's not putting up big numbers, and he's on a run-heavy offense. The pieces add up to him being nowhere close to a top 5 pick, top 10, shit, or even in the first round. But to me, I don't think those things really matter, especially in McCarthy's case. Why? Because he checks all the boxes. He's athletic, he has a good arm, and his processing and feel of the game for his age is superb. I've seen McCarthy make legit NFL reads, and consistently too. Rumors do swirl around that his IQ is off the charts, and he could write incredible things up on the whiteboard. And yeah, while there's no solid evidence, I can suspend my disbelief and view it as an actual possibility because his film displays his above-the-belt processing ability. Of course, no quarterback is perfect, and McCarthy's biggest flaw is his general lack of control on deep balls. Don't get it mistaken, he has incredible zip and enough arm to push the ball downfield serviceably, but when it comes to deep bombs, not only does his arm give out on him and the ball goes wayward, but I feel like he fucks up every single touch throw. I gave him a 7.5 throw power, an accuracy of 5.95, which has an anticipation of 7, medium of 7.5, deep of 2.5, zip of 9, touch of 2, and short of 9. I gave him an IQ of 8, playmaking of 8, pocket presence of 8, and speed of 7.5. A lot of people call JJ McCarthy a project guy, mainly because he didn't throw a lot in college, which is valid, but I think he's smart enough to adjust well in the right situation. If he goes to where a good coach is and he handles him properly, he is guaranteed for success. And handling him properly doesn't particularly mean sitting him for a year too. It could be how you structure your offense or run him in practice. Obviously, it's situational, but my point is I think JJ is good enough to start right out of the gate. Now again, if it's handled wrong, it could fail, but he has the ability to be prosperous while starting immediately.
I award him a score of 7.29.
These young niggas got my dick hard.
I was really tempted to put Drake May and Caleb Williams as 1A and 1B. And at his best, Drake May could go head for head with Williams. He's uber talented, has a rocket arm, elite accuracy, and unbelievable feel for the game. His high-end talent and accuracy gives him the genuine ability to contend with Caleb. Unfortunately for May, it could get bad. He definitely has some loose ends that he needs to clean up. His accuracy is occasionally wayward, his footwork is anemic, and there are just some times where I watch a play of him in particular, and I just turn off the field. Just because I genuinely cannot fathom what the actual fuck he just did. And all of this has made him to be a popular boomer bust pick. And yeah, that's reasonable. With his highs being so high and his lows being, well, low, it's easy to slap the boomer bust label and call it a day. But honestly, and you could probably tell by my placement, I think he'll boom. I think all of his flaws are way easier to repair than some of these other guys down the board. Jayden Daniels has massive red flags in terms of his processing. Reworking the way he sees the field, his tendencies and instinct is going to be much harder than adjusting Drake May's footwork. Him occasionally making a stupid decision is obviously less than ideal, but that intrinsically plays less of an impact on the field than Bo Nix having the inability to move past read one. UNC also wasn't the most friendly to Drake May last year, which to me makes his flaws stick out more. Throw power of 9.5, accuracy of 7.875, which contained a zip of 9.5, touch of 7, anticipation of 7.5, medium of 8, deep of 9, and short accuracy of 6. His IQ got a 6.2, pocket presence got a 8.5, playmaking got a 6, and speed got a 6. His grade is actually not going to represent how close I think him and Caleb are. It's just a lot of his low-end stuff that I think will be cleaned up that's really weighing the grade down. His final grade is a 7.54.
Long time I looked at myself in the mirror and I based myself based on what I read on the comments. I felt worthless. I felt ugly. I felt gay. I felt that
Caleb Williams is my number one quarterback. Shocker, I know. I mean, what do I say about this guy that hasn't been said already? He's far and away obviously going to be the number one selection, and he's certainly good enough for it. He is the perfect playmaking quarterback. Literally, every aspect of creation, evasion, improvisation is immaculate. His instincts, escapability, explosiveness, vision on the move, and throw on the move are all dialed to a 10. He legitimately, on the improvisation and playmaking scale, maybe the best quarterback I ever watched. He's no slouch on the other aspects either. The arm is there. He'll be up there with the best of them in arm talent the instant he enters the league. Accuracy is elite on all three levels. Processing is nothing to be concerned about. There's not really anything to say. The only guy who has a comparable ceiling to him is Drake May, and he got a lot more bust potential than Williams does. His only real flaw or issue was a bit of a dose of playmaker syndrome where he held the ball for too long at times. But I'm willing to cut him some slack since he was forced to do so much on that USC team. And even if that transforms into a major problem in the NFL, which is unlikely, he can easily still be an elite quarterback. Throw power 9.5, accuracy 8.225, which contains a zip of 9, touch of 8.5, anticipation of 7, deep of 9.5, medium of 7, and short of 6. His IQ got a 7, his playmaking got a 10, pocket presence got a 6.5, and his speed got a 6. Chicago Bears, welcome your new quarterback. He gets a grade of 8.02. Yep, that's it. That's my ranking of all the quarterbacks this year. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This was a little bit of a longer video, I know. And believe me, it took a very long time to get this done. Not only watching the players or writing the scripts, recording and editing, it took a long time. And that's exactly why we probably won't have another position ranking for this draft, at least. This year, I did things very inefficiently. It was the first year where I had to take my thoughts on the players and write it in a full-length script. So naturally, I did things a little bit more inefficiently, and the process took way longer. I also missed an upload day like around 2 weeks ago, and I actually planned to release this video then. I just could not get it done. It was just so much to do. Don't worry, guys, I do have a bunch of videos planned to come out during this draft week. I think I have a video essay before the draft, and I'm obviously going to do the draft recaps throughout, you know, the weekend and stuff. Just bear with me then. Just bear with me. One more announcement. I think I have one last announcement. I will be reposting like clips of this longer video in more like digestible forms. So like I'll do like last place to 13th and then 12th to like 7th place and then the top 6. It'll be like that. Anyway, I think that's it for me. Truly appreciate you guys watching. Appreciate the support as always. I love you. Peace.